Revelation 4657. From the 2nd of June 1949. Realization of the eternal Godhead. The clear realization of the eternal deity, the awareness of its existence and its supremely perfect being, can only be gained by people who live in love. It is only given to them to form a true picture which they cannot express in words because it is merely a matter of feeling. Yet their feelings will correspond to the truth, because love cannot produce anything other than truth, because a person who lives in love cannot think and feel anything other than true, and thus the concept of God is also comprehensible to him. However, the intellect is not particularly challenged in this process. Instead, the heart becomes more active insofar as it is the seat of sensations, which are then certainly conveyed to the intellect and received by it, and since they were not produced by the intellect, become conscious to the human being as sensations. But such mediations from the spiritual kingdom can only touch a heart which is formed for love, for this is receptive and willing for spiritual currents. A heart devoid of love will not open itself and will therefore remain insensitive and therefore also without knowledge. For the knowledge of God is spiritual wealth which originates from God, who is love himself, and is only given to the one who seeks to assimilate himself to his fundamental nature. For this awakens the spirit in him to life, which is a spark of the eternal Spirit of God. The eternal deity can therefore certainly be fathomed, even if not in its full depth, as long as the human being still dwells on earth. It can be fathomed to such an extent that the human being becomes aware that a supremely perfect being created him and that this perfect being is connected with himself, thus with imperfect creatures which, however, have only become imperfect through their own fault. Thus the human being recognizes a creative power for the first time which demonstrates all the characteristics of an entity. Furthermore, he recognizes in the countless creations a supernatural working of this strength and thus the will and wisdom of the being, as well as the original cause of creative activity, love. He can therefore now believe in this being out of inner conviction, because he has gained the knowledge from within as a result of a life in love. And then he will be introduced to deeper knowledge by this very being, which will make the eternal deity ever more understandable to him, because the meaning and purpose of everything that happens will be explained to him, and he will thus be initiated into God's eternal plan of salvation, and thus penetrate the secrets of divine activity ever more deeply with God's approval, because God himself wants to guide people into truth and gives fullest enlightenment if they make themselves worthy of it by fulfilling the divine commandments, by living a life of unselfish neighborly love. Then it will become easy for people to recognize the eternal deity. Problems which are unsolvable for those who approach them intellectually will be easily solved by all those who dare to solve them with a loving heart, for God reveals himself to them and also makes himself known. Amen.